And welcome in. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of the Nick Club Wrestling Happy Hour. I am one half of your host and your virtual bartender, Mr. Nick Teodoro, flying solo today as Nikki is bringing home the bacon, working 9 to 5, as Dolly Parton would say. So I'm flying solo here, but we're going to have a bunch of questions in the chat, so feel free to chime in. So we have a very special guest on the show today because Nick Club Wrestling Happy Hour is all about bringing everyone together. So let's bring in somebody here who's also a very big wrestling fan, but you might know him in a different area. He's a three-time former Major League Baseball All-Star. You might know him. He hit 300-plus home runs in baseball. He played for the Yankees. He played for the Tigers. He played for my New York Mets. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Curtis Granderson. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. You talked about that virtual bartender. We got to talk about what you're mixing up back there.
Nothing much right now. Just a little midday stuff. So I'm keeping it a little sober, right?
Makes sense.
But normally Friday nights at 6. That's our normal spot. My wife and I, Nikki, do the Nick Club Wrestling Happy Hour. So we usually kick it off then. But yeah, everyone comes in. Some people drink, some people don't. It's for everyone. But the happy hour is all about, for us, it's a wrestling hour to kind of discuss that. But yeah, Curtis, definitely appreciate you joining the show. Before we get started here, why don't you let everyone know what you've been up to?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me on here as we come to the end of this 2025 year. 5 years into retirement now. Called it quits in January of 2020. From there, have continued to just keep building and growing with my nonprofit work. My Curtis Granderson Foundation is celebrating 18 years. We started that in 2007. One of our big initiatives is kicking off right now. That's Grand Giving. Throughout the whole month of November, and this year, the month of December, we raise funds at one of our local grocery stores in my Chicagoland area, and we have branched now into Wisconsin with Mariano's Pick and Save and Metro Market to help raise money at the register to help fight food insecurity. And for your listeners that are able to watch but not able to join in person at any of those locations, you can also donate on grandgiving.org. That's our nonprofit website for that. That's grandgiving.org. All the proceeds help those local food markets, those food banks in those markets to help fight food insecurity. And then also at my alma mater, the University of Illinois, Chicago, UIC, I have the Chicago Baseball Educational Academy, which helps baseball and softball kids 8 to 18 in the Chicagoland area. And we have year-round programming as the snow is falling here in Chicago in December. That doesn't stop us. We're able to get inside with a full Major League infield with tall enough ceilings to host 12U games. But we do camps, we do clinics, we do first time, we do umpire training, we do coaches clinics. And then, of course, when the weather is nice in Chicago, we get you outside. And that's cbeauic.org. But if all these websites and all these different things you can't remember, you can just search my name, Curtis Granderson, or go to grandyman.org, and you'll be able to see everything on there.
That's awesome. Yeah, and baseball all year round. Because I know you guys, I've been out the Chicago area a few times, and you guys get some really harsh winters out there.
You know what? We've been blessed over the last couple of years, having played in New York and in Chicago. Everyone's like, isn't Chicago so cold? I'm like, yeah, it can get cold, but we do have a summer, and we have an amazing summer. It gets 100 degrees. But this last couple of years, like last year, we had 11 inches total of snow. We just broke that on Wednesday. We had 8 to 12 inches throughout, different parts of the city. So the last, 10 years, we haven't really had much snow throughout the winter. We'll still get a little cold, but it hasn't been like those winters I remember where you got to come out, shovel up, get the sled out, tie to a back of a car and ride around, try not to kill yourself. But we haven't had much of that lately. So maybe this winter might get you back to what you remember before, where it's cold and chilly and windy and snowy at the same time.
I'm okay with mild winters, so nothing wrong with that. So Curtis, I want to get into it. When I found out that you were a fan of wrestling, I was like, I have to reach out to Curtis. This is great. And obviously, I'm a Met fan, so your history with the Mets, obviously, I have some fond memories there as well. But take us through, what got you in? What is your origin story? What got you into wrestling?
Yeah, so my grandmother was a big wrestling fan. We're going, way back, the what would that be? AWA days and NWA days and WWF days. And when she would come in town and would babysit me, my dad would record a bunch of them on VHS back then. And then that was kind of like the babysitter. Today we have, the iPad or Netflix or something like that. Now she would pop in those VHS tapes and put me in front of her. She'd be watching. I'd be down practicing my moves on the pillows, trying to DDT and body slam this pillow here and there. And that's what kind of got it going. And as I just, became, a grade schooler, then a high schooler, the Attitude Era was happening, the Raw is War, the Monday Night War battles, all that stuff were huge with friends and family of mine. And we would just continue to stay into it. That it was just always around. And case in point, since I knew we were coming on, I had to bring these out here. My aunt had some keepsakes from my grandmother that she recently gave to me. And I was like, all right, I gotta definitely keep these things for saving them, but I'm going to bring these out for you just to show the history that we got here. So we got a JYD drinking glass with the old WWF logo. And then we also have a Hot Rod Roddy Piper. So my grandmother had those, gave them to my aunt. My aunt knew I was a wrestling fan, gave them to me. So I was like, yeah, I definitely got to hold on to those. Now, the kind of sad part of it is, as my career kept going, get in the pro ball, get into the big leagues, our days, our years just get longer and longer. So I start to miss Monday nights. I start to miss SmackDowns. I start to miss pay-per-views and I didn't get a chance to keep up with it nearly as much as I did prior to, because, we were either traveling or playing on a lot of these big days. So I've been slightly removed over the last several years. I have been able to keep up a little bit via social, but it's always been something that's been big on my end. I actually just sent a buddy of mine whose son is a big John Cena fan, and I had from I think it was 2007 or 8 when WrestleMania was in Detroit. Had a chair from around the stage, so that's got Trump on there, it's got Cena on there, and a few people. And I was like, this is great. I don't really have a space for it, but your son's a big Cena fan. So I sent it to him. He goes, he'll love it. So those are all those different things.
That Detroit one. Yeah, that was where Vince McMahon got his head shaved. Yeah, the Battle of Billionaires. Bobby Lashley's speech. Yeah. I think that was also Undertaker Batista. That was that.
Yep, we had a nice big TLC match. I remember getting a chance to sit ringside. Sean Casey, teammate of mine, was a big wrestling guy as well, and he knew some of the camera people for WWE. And he's like, all right, hey, I want you all to sit right here for this match. So we got to be right by a table that got busted through. And I remember somebody went down hard on the ladder and it didn't break. And I was like, ooh. And then they dropped this on them and they had to come check in on everybody. That wasn't supposed to happen like that. So, but I tell everybody, having played in a World Series, having gone to NCAA Sweet 16 games, having been to multiple different events worldwide, El Clasico in Barcelona versus Real Madrid, World Cup qualifiers, rugby matches, hockey matches. The best sporting event I've ever been to, hands down, was that WrestleMania in Detroit. And people go, what do you mean? Like, how? Why? I go, first of all, 80,000 people in there, all into it. The pyrotechnics, the music, and then the matches delivered on so many different areas. It's like, it's just nonstop from start to finish. And let's not forget, the lead up, the people that get in town up to a week in advance, now probably even earlier, to outside the arena, to inside the arena. And all of that made it the best sporting event that I've ever attended.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So for you, you showed the mugs. Were those Roddy and JYD? Were those your two favorites, or who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
JYD was up there. I was a big Booker T fan. I got a chance to meet him a couple times, so that was cool. Most recently, another one I was a huge fan of. I've seen he has popped back up on social. I just started following was D'Lo Brown. Frog splash and the lowdown and the head shaking and all that.
Better recognize.
Sting was one. Obviously, Ultimate Warrior. Just being at that age at that time. but just so many, and I just like the stories behind it all, and just so many different moments I remember. But those are just some of the few. And if I've left people off, it's not because I didn't. The list could just keep going on and on and on.
For sure. So you've been in a lot of different, MLB locker rooms. Is there any? Well, this is kind of twofold. For yourself, do you ever envision yourself, doing that, post career, maybe having an experience in the ring? And is there any teammates that you had? You talked about Sean being one of your teammates there that may have had a career, post playing in wrestling.
So I had 2 to 3 different opportunities, and the first one was TNA was coming here with Bound for Glory in Chicago, and they had reached out and said, "Hey, we'd love to get you a part of this match, and you can do X, Y, and Z." So I started calling my agent up. I'm so excited. I'm like, "Let's do it." And he's like, "If you slip or you get hurt, we can't have." I was like, "Dang." So we ended up modifying it, and I became the keeper of the belt. So I got to hold the belt for a match. They had to come get it from me in order to win this match. But I remember I got a baseball card of that. So it's one of the most unique baseball cards I have because it's a combination of wrestling / baseball trading card. So I got to do that. I got a chance to see them also at a very small house show in Toronto. I mean, this one might have had about, I'd say, maybe 200 people, maybe 300 people in attendance. And Rhino, who had played in my celebrity basketball game in Detroit, was now a part of it. So we were up close and everything. So I got, I was literally right there, and all the tacks are being tossed out. So I'm grabbing some tacks so I can keep them. Oh, look at this, like a really cool thing. So that was one. And then trying to think, I thought there was one other time. Oh, it's, so the one where I said no, and the way it was going to happen, I was going to come in, grab a sheet pan or something. I was going to smash somebody on the back of the head and then get up out of there. But my agent said no to it. So that's as far as it came. And then I would definitely say, out of all the teammates I had, some that could easily slide in and have a ton of success, Kyle Farnsworth, hands down. This dude's got muscles and veins in his legs like I've never seen before. And he would jokingly pick us up and just like a teddy bear, just boom. He's just got this unreal strength, and I think he could easily make the transition. I know he did some, I don't know if it was arena football, but some kind of semi-pro football after he retired. But the type of shape that he's in, he could easily fit in and, be a heel, be a face, whatever you want him to be. He'd be able to do it all.
Are you considering, because you're in that Chicago area, are you considering going out for, I think Money in the Bank or Elimination Chamber? I think it's supposed to be there.
Something coming up, and I was like, man, it's like one of the first times WWE's been back in Chicago in a while, and I saw it post. I might be out of town for it. I was like, no. So I may miss that one. A really cool, I got a chance to see 2 really good ones here in the last 5 years, and that was AEW came here when what's his name? Yes. What's his name? Daniels.
Bryan Danielson.
Bryan Daniels. He came back and joined, so that was really cool. And then I was also here when CM Punk came back with AEW at United Center, and they gave us all ice cream bars afterwards. I've been all the cool events I've been to. The wrestling has also been amazing. But just think about this. I mean, where else am I going to get free ice cream? Get some thumbtacks. Get a chair I can take home. All but wrestling. So that's again what has made it so cool and exciting. And of course, the matches and everything have been great. So those were the most 2 recent that I attended live and in person.
And again, being from that area, you mentioned his name. I mean, have you ever interacted? And I guess what is the I know he's kind of a cool legend there, CM Punk. Have you ever interacted with him in any?
Never got a chance to. It's one of those things where, as his career was doing it, mine was, and then we were in Chicago at the same time. And he's been on my list of if I ever do anything in the Chicagoland area, like I do. I had some celebrity softball games or fundraisers that kick off our grand giving, where we brought people out like Bulls and Bears and Blackhawks and so on, depending in time for that time of the year, because it's usually in November, December. So all the baseball people are typically gone. So it's a matter of who happens to be here. But our paths haven't crossed yet.
No. Well, soon, right?
That's it. Hopefully, we'll see.
So I guess I want to kind of segue and switch gears a little bit here into, because I am a sports fan as well. But But kind of touching upon you, we talked about the Monday Night Wars and things of that nature. You have a unique experience in, and again, you shared in changing the culture for the Mets, but you went from one New York team to another, similar to how Juan Soto just did last year. I guess what is that? What was that transition like? I guess the reaction, like in that decision. I guess and how can you compare to what Juan's doing right now with the Mets?
It's crazy. When I got traded to the Yankees, I was nervous. I was scared would be kind of may not the most accurate word, but there's some truth to it. Partly because you had heard all these different things about just the Yankee montage and era and aura and all these different things of things you can do, things you can't do, how you're just under this microscope. And I'm coming from Detroit at the time where we've had success. I've been to an All-Star game. I've played in the World Series. I just played for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. I've played with potential Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers and All-Stars. So I've got all that. And we played and have beat the Yankees to advance to the ALCS in 2006. So it wasn't a fear from playing and being able to succeed. It was just I'm young and I enjoy myself and I'm trying to do the things I can. Am I going to be all over the newspapers? Am I going to be all this? Can I go out to eat after a game? Can I do that stuff? And sure enough, one of my first days in New York with the Yankees, Jobber Chamberlain and I are out at some place. I don't remember where it was. And sure enough, it was on page 6 the next day. Luckily, it said something like Jabba Chamberlain and Grandy out at this place. Grandy was seen holding a bottle of water. I was like, woo! Right? Like they had me out doing, something crazy. But TMZ caught me a couple times while being there. And then I just understood and learned, okay, when I could do stuff, when I couldn't do stuff, and just how there are more eyeballs on you in New York versus a place like Detroit. No less passionate or anything, just different standard. Obviously, more media, more fans, more population, all that stuff. And then, of course, you got the core four with Jeter and Pettit and Rivera and Posada. And they had just won a World Series in 2009. So all that. And then within 4 years, I feel like I got, situated and understood there and played well there and enjoyed my time there. And now I become a free agent and the opportunity presents itself to go to the Mets. And what's funny is I didn't know a ton about the Mets, partly because I had only been in American League. I had only played against them once with the Tigers in Interleague. The Mets came to us, and then the Subway Series with the Yankees. But you only focus on that series during that time. Before and after that, it's the AL East. So you're worried about that. Same thing with the Mets. It's the NL East. Like, you're not worried about the Yankees for 158 games or 156 games. You're worried about everybody else. Obviously, when it comes time for the Subway Series, you focus on it. So I didn't know a ton. And then Sandy Alderson, reached out to my agent and started the conversation and communication and, got to meet Terry Collins and heard about what the pitching staff was going to be over there. And I had played against David Wright in the minor league. So obviously I knew him, but I didn't know much more after that. And then getting a chance to come on over to the Mets, I was excited about the possibilities to be there. And having played for the Yankees, I would drive to Citi Field when it was time for the Subway Series. I'm like, for where I stayed with the Mets or with the Yankees, I can stay in the same place with the Mets. And sure enough, I did. So I was at 72nd in York for my first 2 years with the Yankees, 67th and 1st for my next 2 to 4 years with Yankees / starting with the Mets. And I went back to 72nd and York. And the only disappointment is, if I'd known I'd have been in New York for 8 years, I should have bought something, but I didn't know I was going to be there that long. So, but it was cool on both sides. I would say, if there were any differences across the board, again, the Yankees are arguably one of the most popular franchises in the world. And as I've had a chance to promote baseball globally, there's places I go that have never played baseball, don't know much about it, but they'll still respond with, aren't the Yankees a team? And to me, that speaks volumes to who they are and what they are. Now, when you flip and come over to the Mets side of things, if you are understanding and knowing the Mets, like, you are like in it, you grew up in it, your family has raised you in it, you've been to Shea, you've been to City, you've seen a little bit of everything. And the passion is just as intense over there, if not more. Because I always say that if you want to hear the loudest cheers and loudest boos, go to a Mets game. Like, it's going to be bigger than it is with the Yankees for a number of reasons. I just think when it does go bad, it's like, all right, here we go again, so we're going to let you have it. And when it goes good, everyone's just so excited that you get that intensity. And case in point, in 2015, when we had that World Series run, I remember going to get some food one day, and it might have been the New York Marathon might have also been happening around the same time. So it would have been game 3, 4, or 5, one of those. I don't remember which one it was. And as I'm walking the streets, the number of people wearing Mets hats and jackets and hoodies like I had never seen before was very impressive, because you'll see Yankee hats and jerseys all over the time, and they may not have no idea what the Yankee team or roster is. Most do, but some don't. But if you have some Mets gear on, you know, and it ain't just like, oh, this is something cool, I'm wearing it. This is, I'm a fan. This is the reason why I'm
like less of a brand, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah, like a commercial brand. Yeah, it's interesting. And you kind of bled into my question, because I was going to say, like, the atmospheres and the differences between the two, and kind of comparing it back to, we saw, a concert at Citi Field a few years ago, my wife and I, and it's just different. Where do you think if you were to have like a wrestling event, something like that, like a WrestleMania in either Yankee or Citi Field, would it, having played in both and knowing the environment, if it was, your decision, where would you pick it?
So I was fortunate to be in Yankee Stadium when Mariano was getting ready to retire, and Metallica came and performed like a intro / part of the tribute for him. So the fact to see that stage and to see them on there and get the crowd going, obviously great for that. Got a chance to be there for Jeter's 3,000th hit / home run, all in the same pitch, and crowd rocking and stuff like that. At Citi, of course, we played in the World Series, and the place was nuts. Got a chance to watch that, and obviously us against the Dodgers and then against the Cubs before going to the World Series. I would say if I had to pick between the two, I think size-wise, Yankee Stadium's slightly bigger. So some people say, oh, they get more fans. Like, yeah, their stadium's bigger. And we saw the Mets this year, I think, break an attendance record for Mets, either Citi Field or for the Mets in general. But if you say they were all equal, 50,000 in both, just using round numbers, I would say it would probably get rowdier at Citi Field. With a wrestling crowd and vibe, that could be great. I think at Yankee Stadium, you would need almost like one of those older WrestleMania matches where it was Hulk and Randy Savage and Queen Elizabeth, and they got to kind of come out and be like hoisted out.
I do.
I feel like that played well for Yankee Stadium. But then if you get like a TLC or a cage match, that plays well for Citi Field.
That makes sense. So we got a question here in the chat. Urson, our friend from overseas, wants to know, what was your favorite all-time part about your playing career?
The coolest part for me, and the fact that he's from overseas, was traveling. I loved getting the chance to travel. It's one of the things I miss most about not playing now. And I still travel a good amount now. But not only traveling throughout the U.S., but playing in Canada, both against the Blue Jays and for the Blue Jays, and then getting a chance to travel the world to promote the game. Like, this game opened up all these opportunities for me. I got a chance to play go to South Africa, meet, and then eventually play with Gift Ngope, the first South African major league player, which is really cool.
Yeah,
then
awesome.
New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and just a number of different places throughout Europe, throughout South America, throughout the Caribbean. So for me, that was the coolest part, was just traveling all over the places. And the number of people I've met and have stayed in contact with, it makes it easier for me to stay connected, because as you mentioned at the beginning of this, you may not want to come to Chicago in the wintertime, but in your backyard, hey, it's really easy for us to meet up, and I may be there for a number of reasons, whether it's vacation or whether it's promoting baseball or back when I was playing in those different areas.
Absolutely. And I have another write-in question. My friend Tom, he's a huge Yankee fan. He wants to know about your favorite memories of playing in Yankee Stadium, and specifically, I don't know if this is a tall tale or legend, that are the ghosts real?
I would say playing in Yankee Stadium, the biggest moment, I'd say there's two. One was as a opponent that 2006 Tigers team coming to play the Yankees. My dad was at those games during the wild card, and it was his first time at Yankee Stadium. And you talked about those ghosts, and you hear about Yankee Stadium rocking and shaking, all this stuff. And it was like that. You know, it was old, it was rickety, but it was great. It was a great place to be in. And they did such an amazing job bringing the Yankee greats back. So Yogi Berra would be there, Reggie Jackson would be there, Goose Gossage, Mickey Rivers, and they would not only be on the field, but then they'd be showing some sort of highlight of them on the screen, just trying to intimidate you and just dog you. Like, I don't care how good you all are, y'all don't have this. Look at what we got, and it works, right? You know, people get in the aura, and then on top of that, there's Denzel Washington sitting behind the, you know, the dugout, and there's this celeb and that celeb and all these different things. And I remember we're playing there. It's game 2. We just lost the first game. We're going to play game 2. Then we're going to travel to Detroit. And I hit a triple off Mike Mussina there and slide in safely. I think it either tied the game or gave us the lead. And my dad said, that's the quietest I've ever seen Yankee Stadium. So that moment was something cool. That'll be special because my dad, you know, got to witness and be a part of that. And then, you know, I think the 3 home run game as a Yankee in Yankee Stadium in 2011 was really cool and memorable to have done that there and just start to, you know, continue to take off and, you know, hit homers there and then hit 40 back-to-back years. So those are probably the 2 on both sides being at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, well, you did that a lot, like 10 times in your career, 20 home runs or more. So
take advantage of the wind blowing out and people, you know, throwing hard and hit it to the smallest part of the field.
Some of those, I don't know about that. You're very humble on that end. Yeah, before we get out of here, just looking towards, I know it's off season, still a lot has to be decided, but you know, your thoughts on, you know, the local market here, the Mets and Yankees, and what your expectations are of the 2 teams this year.
You talked before about, you know, Juan Soto doing what he did there. You know, I didn't get a chance to touch on that. I think it's absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, Kevin Long, who I play with as a hitting coach, both with the Yankees and the Mets, had Juan Soto with the Nationals. And I remember him talking about he's one of the best hitters he's ever seen. Now, mind you, he's had A-Rod, he's had Jeter, he's had Giambi, he's had Cano. He's had some great hitters. For him to put Juan Soto that early in his career in that list and ahead of everybody speaks volumes. And of course, he had Ichiro as well with the Yankees. So, you know, we're talking some great hitters here. And we're seeing that, you know, Juan Soto is going to get himself on base. He's shown he can hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's shown he can run and steal bases and can play the outfield, and he can handle the media with what he did when he got traded to the Yankees and then now going to the Mets, especially after having a slow start, but realizing and reminding everybody it's 162 games. So I think he's going to continue to keep doing his thing for quite some time over there. I think for both these teams, the Yankees and the Mets, they're in a unique space. You know, I think there was a time, especially as I was coming up, not only as a fan, but as a young minor league player, an early big league player, where those New York ghosts that was talked about by the previous question, or that mystique of the city, was true across the board. You know, there were players that were scared to play in New York, especially against the Yankees. They hated the traffic. They hated the fans. They didn't like, you know, the commute. They just disliked all that. And if you feel that way before you've even stepped on the field, then you're already slightly defeated. But I think now, fast forward in 25 / going into 26, I think these teams and these individuals have kind of, you know, balanced things out and said, okay, yeah, the Yankees were the big boys in town and used to dominate and roll through things. And of course, the Mets are in Citi Field and they got a ton of money. But I think everybody on the outside looking in goes, okay, they're just another of the 30 teams. Now, with that being said, I think both of those teams need to take that upon themselves and say, okay, we can't just go in there and use the New York mindset and that's just going to beat teams, because in the last 10, 15, 20 years, looking at the 2000, it's not the case. Right. You know, the Yankees only have 2 World Series when we have some teams with 2 and 3, with the Giants and the Red Sox and the Dodgers now having, do they have 2 or 3 in the 2000s?
3,
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we start talking about who are the dominant teams in the 2000s. They're in the mix, but they're not at the top like they used to be. Right. So I think it's got to be one of those things to say, hey, the days are over of us just coming in and knowing that we beat you before we've thrown a pitch. We have to do the things internally with both organizations to put the best product out on the field, from coaching staff all the way down to the 26th player and in the minor leagues, and then go out there and say, okay, we need to find a way to dominate you, and know that even if we get ahead, even if our fans get intense, this opposition is not backing down. And I think once that mindset is kind of driven back in, I think both organizations can do a lot of great things, because you got owners that are going to spend. You got top world-class, first-class facilities and organization across the board. You just got to continue to get that mindset back. And I think that intensity on both sides will be key. And once that's there, you'll feel it. And then once you feel it, you'll see them like, oh, that's the Yankees and the Mets that we remember. Because I think right now it's hovering and it's floating. It's not, even when you look at the different series and you're trying to pick teams and go, okay, it's Yankees, Red Sox. It's not just a gimme anymore, right? It's Mets, Phillies, it's Mets, Braves. There's no gimmies in there. I mean, even Mets, Marlins, right? Or, Yankees, Rays, right? Is a battle, or Yankees, Blue Jays, right? Like, all these teams are like, all right, it's our turn now. So they got to both take that back. And I think that'll be keys to success. And can they do that in 26? I think so. I think, there's still a lot of moves that can be made here this offseason. We've seen a couple little ones. Devin Williams now going over to the Mets. There's some rumors that Cody Bellinger might sign. What's Pete Alonso going to do? Obviously, Brandon Nimmo getting traded was a big one, but you bring in Marcus Semien, which I think is, a great piece. So it will definitely be interesting to see how things kind of play for both of these teams as they get ready for the turn of the calendar and get back on the field come, March 27th, I think is opening.
Warmer weather ahead.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. I played some cold opening days. Like, woo! Did not love those.
I think this morning here in New Jersey was about 26, something like that. So it wasn't too, but it was still cold.
You just got to get down to spring training. That's all it is. Go for a fantasy camp and warm up, or definitely get down a little earlier, and that's it.
For sure. Last question, because my wife Nikki would kill me if I didn't ask it, because this is every guest on the Nick Club Wrestling Happy Hour. It's the most controversial question. So in New Jersey, North Jersey and South Jersey, there's a meat, Taylor ham or pork roll is usually the question of Taylor ham, egg and cheese, or pork roll. But we've amended it out to what is your favorite breakfast food?
Breakfast food in general. You know what? I feel like out of those two, I think I've had the pork roll once. I got to do it again, so I can't speak on those. But especially since we've talked New York in my time there, one of the best things I think New York does an amazing job was delivery. I mean, stuff comes fast. It comes hot. This is well before Uber Eats was a thing and DoorDash, but I remember using Seamless and Grubhub back in, 2010, 11, got introduced to that and I was hooked. And, I love, there was one place called Ritz Diner. It was great. I get pancakes, I get sausage, get eggs, get all these great things. But I loved like the croissant breakfast sandwich. So that's one, egg, it could be sausage, cheese. If it's not croissant, then obviously I'll go bagel. So I'd say those would be the two. I've been to Issa Bagel, and I haven't done like a true bagel tour in New York. So that's still on my list where I got to go. And they would definitely be bagel sandwiches. Like, yeah, I like bagels and spread. Don't get me wrong. I think that's great and delicious. But give me some egg, give me some sausage, give me some cheese. Yeah. And I've heard recently, I think you have to let them steam. Like once you get it, keep it in. Don't open it right away. Let it steam to soften up some things a little bit, and then open it up. So
yes, I think so sometimes. But sometimes now with Uber Eats and DoorDash, sometimes it comes in to get the little slice. There's a fine line, I feel like, between that.
Yeah, things aren't as good as they used to be. We're starting to become those old heads where back in my day it was like this. It's just so funny to even think about that. Like 2010, now we're in 25, about to be 26. It's been 15 years since I joined the Yankees and got introduced to all those great things. So, but I love to eat. So tell your wife, breakfast is definitely one of my favorite things. I definitely enjoy it. And the cool thing about New York, you can get it any time of the day in any part of the city. And that was what one of my colleagues told me. He goes, that was one of the coolest things. Any cuisine you want, any time of the day, you can get it. And I love to eat. So that was one of the great things about being both a Yankee and a Met and being there for as long as I was.
That's awesome. Curtis, before we let you go, again, let everyone know where they can find you and all the great work you're doing.
So the easiest way, Grandyman. I think it's .org or .com, but Grandyman, Curtis Granderson, and then we have our Grand Giving initiative going on right now, and CBEA gets the kids playing baseball and softball year round. And for anyone that gets a chance to come to Chicago, definitely come check us out. You don't have to come in the winter. We got amazing summers. We got a bunch of great activities going on the field at UIC. And if you can't join in person, again, Curtis Granderson Foundation, Grandyman.com. Grand Giving, CBEAUIC.org, all the different places you can find us, and of course on social.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Curtis Granderson. Curtis, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I got to come back in a happy hour so we can get one of those virtual drinks. Whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, we still got to have one.
You are welcome whenever. Fridays at 6 Eastern, so I guess that's 5 Central for you here.
Perfect. But I could be on the East Coast, so I could make it on that East Coast time too, depending when we have
it. Or wherever you are around the world. Yeah. Always welcome to come back.
Thank you.
Take care, Curtis.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Curtis Granderson, Yankee and Met great. Make sure you check out all of his charitable work. It is in the description of the video here. Some great stuff he's doing out there in the Chicago area. But yeah, again, making new friends. So until next time, going to wrap it up here. You do not have to go home, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for our normally regularly scheduled program. But you do not have to go home. You can't stay here.